All right, this is a bad idea. What I'm doing here, I'm going to read out the plot summary of Kingdom Hearts as a series. This is as written on landofod.net. I am. This isn't like a joke thing. I'm just going to read it because people said they wanted to. I initially read out a series of plot points for use in an episode of the Jimquisition, and I didn't. I actually skipped loads of it just because I knew it would be edited into a thing. It wasn't supposed to be a real plot summary, but some people wanted that. But I don't think that was particularly good because there's a lot of stopping starting. But even though I only read a little bit of each entry for the edit, it still took me 26 minutes to do, or at least somewhere between 26 28 minutes. I've got right now 40 minutes before I have to do podquisition for all of you, for all the lovely listeners. So, for your edification, and do forgive me if I'm a little bit wheezy today. I'm worried I've got a bit of an asthma thing going on for the first time in a long time, but it's not too serious, but it might just... I'm just going to read this because I've only, as I say, I've got 40 minutes. So we're going to start with Key Unchained, Key back cover. Key / Unchained, Key / back cover. Key, CHI. All right. That's where the story starts. The tale begins in the age of fairy tales, where the Master of Masters has entrusted each of his 5 apprentices with a copy of the Book of Prophecies, a tome that contains the future but also contains other powers like the ability to create worlds. The book foretells of a dire event coming where all-out war will consume the world and darkness will swallow the light. The Master of Masters warns his apprentices that this event is set in stone and is impossible to change, so not to fixate on it. Oh, we can just forget all about that then, can't we? Instead, plan for what comes next. He also bestows a special task on each of his apprentices. Ira is given the task of being the leader. Aced? I don't... Is that... This is the thing with Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if it's Ace, and I don't know if this is a typo. ACED, but anyway, they're given the task of supporting Ira and taking his place should Ira prove unreliable at his task. Invi was tasked with observing her fellow apprentices and acting as a mediator. Ava was given the goal of training Dandelion. Yeah. Keyblade wielders that will go forth after the war to help rebuild, and Gula was given a missing page from the Book of Prophecy that speaks of a traitor and is tasked with discovering who it is. The Master of Masters' final apprentice, Luxu, was not given a copy of the book. Instead, Luxu was entrusted with the Master of Masters' Keyblade that had one of his eyes grafted into it, and told to take the Keyblade and use it to witness the events in the future, so the Master's current self could see them and create the Book of Prophecies. Well, that's cheating. If you've seen what it is and you write that's not a prophecy. That's just knowing. That's just spoilers. He also entrusts Luxu with a trunk that he is told to never open. With that done, the Master of Masters vanishes without a trace, and shortly after, Luxu does as well. The remaining 5 apprentices go about their other main task, the formation of unions. At last, unions would be a unified team of Keyblade wielders that would work to carry out each union's goals, namely the gathering of Lux, which is light, from various worlds that are eventually revealed to be artificial worlds created by the Book of Prophecies. I mean, I'd have gone for fair pay first. This goal eventually starts to drive a wedge between the 5 apprentices, now called Foretellers because we need to change their name, as accusations of stealing Lux and fierce competition creates animosity between the unions. All the while, behind the scenes, the Foretellers grow increasingly worried about a potential traitor among them and begin to plot against each other. Finally, with the unions at each other's throats and the Foretellers turned against each other, do all 5 go to war. In an event that history would come to know as the Keyblade War, scores of Keyblade wielders died in a fierce battle between the unions to lay claim to the light for their own faction. Kingdom Hearts, the source of all light, was swallowed up by the darkness, and on a hill in the distance stands Luxu, holding the Master of Masters' Keyblade. Right, on to Union Cross, that's the next chapter. We will get to one of the games, well, one of the ones people know, one of the 3 that matter. Union Cross. Following the events of the Keyblade War, the Keyblade wielders that survived awoke in various worlds that they had visited that were created by the Book of Prophecy. The Keyblade War remembered only as a terrible dream as they continued on their adventures and making friends in Daybreak Town and various worlds. However, things weren't like... I don't know why I stumbled over that. This is one of the most simple sentences in this whole thing. However, things weren't like they were before. The Foretellers were gone. In their place, they left halos in space to defeat the Flood. No, they left 5 specially selected members of the Dandelions. Why? Were to take over and form new unions and lead the remaining Keyblade wielders. They were presented with special books that would guide them, crafted by Master Ava. One girl who received such a book, Sturletzia, is murdered by a shadowy figure and her book stolen. The other new leaders assemble. Scold and Ephemera, friends of the player character. Brain, an inquisitive fella who hides his face with a big hat. Laurium, a pink-haired boy, and Sturletzia's brother, and Ventus, a blonde kid. Alright. They begin to work together to figure out solutions for those who remain and how best to move forward. To assist them, a single copy of the Book of Prophecy was left in the Foreteller's Tower for them, so they start not knowing that one among them isn't supposed to be there. Meanwhile, Maleficent, yes, an actual Disney character! Maleficent has appeared within the world and has begun to try and enact her plan before Sora could even exist. But despite her knowledge of the future, she cannot even succeed in the Enchanted Dominion, let alone escape to the outside like she had before. A shadowy figure appears to confront her, explaining that she can't change the scenario that's been created. I know that feeling. Like, when you get deep enough into Kingdom Hearts and you wish they could just change the scenario they've created. Inquiring further, the Shadow explains to Maleficent that without the Book of Prophecy, no worlds could be created. So in preparation for the events after the Keyblade War, data worlds were created instead. All of the worlds that the Book of Prophecy created were recreated in data form for the Keyblade wielders. Matrix shit happened, okay, gang? Matrix shit happened. Because of Maleficent? From Disney? From the Sleeping Beauty? We've gone from the Sleeping Beauty to the fucking Matrix. Anyway, the shadowy figure can help her get back to her own time. Oh wait, yeah, she's stuck in the same loop regardless of what she tries to do. That is Maleficent, I think. Trapped in the Matrix. Right. According to Land of Odd, Union Cross is still being actively updated as of the time of writing. So, there's more to that. Birth by Sleep. Fuck off. Birth by... What is that as a name? Why? Why is that? Anyway, in a more recent time, a trio of Keyblade wielders named Ventus, Terra, and Aqua seek to complete their training and earn their Mark of Mastery, a symbol of Keyblade mastery that demonstrates one's ability to resist the darkness. Aqua and Terra are both being tested for the mark under the supervision of Master Ericus and his colleague and current wielder of the Master of Masters Keyblade, Xenonaut. Xenoheart, however, tampers with the testing, allowing for the darkness to manifest during the trial. Aqua manages to overcome the challenge and earn her mark, but much to Xenoheart's delight, Terra seems to give in to the darkness. Heart, darkness, heart, darkness. While Ericus will not grant Terra the Mark of Mastery, he has need of both Terra and Aqua to address the matter of a growing number of creatures in the world called the Unversed. Not the Heartless, not the Nobodies. In Birth by Sleep, we're dealing with the Unversed. Ericus then asks Aqua in secret to watch over Terra and make sure he doesn't stray into the darkness. Meanwhile, Ven is provoked into leaving as well by Xenonaut's apprentice Vanitas. At this point, the three young Keyblade wielders' stories divide. That's what we need, is more division. We need the story to get more winding. Terra's journey has him seeking out the now missing Master Enosart, who appears to be searching for the 7 princesses of pure hearts. On his journey, he unwittingly collaborates with a number of Disney villains, including Maleficent, to discover the whereabouts of Xenoheart. At one point, Terra visits a world called Destiny Islands, where he encounters a pair of young boys named Riku and Sora. Seeing the potential of heroism in the young Riku, Terra performs a ritual that marks Riku as the next in line to inherit Terra's Keyblade. When he finally locates the Master, Xenonaut warns him that Ericus is betraying Terra by holding back his potential and can't be trusted. This is only confirmed when Terra returns to Master Ericus, only to find him attacking Ventus. Terra intervenes and ultimately ends up slaying his teacher and father figure, driving Terra to flee. Ventus's tale, however, confronts the matter of Ven's dark past. A former disciple of Xenonaut, the Master pushed Ven to the limits to rip apart the boy's heart and passing out the light from the dark. Ventus only survived the ordeal thanks to a young boy named Sora who agreed to lend the light of his heart to Ventus, because you can do that. Xenoheart hopes to pit Ventus against his darker self, Vanitas, to create a weapon known as the X-Blade. Keyblade, in brackets, Chi-Blade, if you will. The ultimate and original Keyblade that is fabled to have the power to open up the heart of all worlds and the source of all light, Kingdom Hearts. When Ventus confronts Ericus about this fact, Ericus realizes that the only way to stop Xenohort from getting the X-Blade and Kingdom Hearts is to destroy Ven. The battle is interrupted by Terra, who kills Ericus and drives Ven into despair. There are 3 more massive paragraphs for this. Aqua's journey is spent trying to find her 2 friends who she worries about. Visiting many worlds after Terra has visited them, she learns of all the horrible things Terra has done, allying himself with the villains, and fears she is losing him to the darkness. She also struggles to convey her concerns to Ven, who lashes out at her like she was an over-concerned parent who doesn't understand Terra. Aqua too travels to the Destiny Islands, where she meets the young boys Riku and Sora, and while tempted to bestow her Keyblade to Sora like she senses Terra did for Riku, she worries that it would ruin their friendship. I mean, it's the number 1 cause of a friendship ending, is to bestow your Keyblade to them. It's tragic. It's tragic. You think you're doing a good thing. You think you're doing them a favour. No one wants a Keyblade they didn't ask for. Instead, she accidentally bequeaths her Keyblade to a young princess she encounters on the World of Radiant Gardens, named Kairi, who unknowingly triggers the ritual by grabbing the handle of Aqua's Keyblade. I've done that. Aqua also meets at several points with the powerful sorcerer Yen Sid and joins forces with his young apprentice Mickey Mouse across several worlds before ultimately learning of Ericus' death, and is ordered by Yen Sid to go find her friends at the Keyblade graveyard. The 3 friends reunite twice in their journeys. The first is at Radiant Gardens, after they have each had run-ins with Xenonort's newest lackey, a guard by the name of Braig, who wants the power that Xenoheart is offering. The last time is at the Keyblade graveyard, the site where countless years ago the Foretellers and their unions did battle and brought about the destruction of light. It's here where... How did they see to fight? It's here where the climactic showdown with the Grand Puppet Master behind their conflicts, as well as the creator of the Unversed, Master Xenonort, and his apprentice Vanitas occurs. Ven and Aqua face off against Vanitas, only for Ven to have his heart absorbed and turned into the X-Blade. Aqua is able to defeat Vanitas with the help of Mickey. Terra, however, faces off with Xenonort himself, but is defeated when Xenonort uses the Master of Masters Keyblade to unlock his own heart and transfer into Terra's body, which turns his long hair a stark white and makes his eyes glow yellow. I'm glad that's included in the write-up. However, Terra's pure willpower is bound to his Keyblade armor, which acts on his own to strike down Terra Xenonos. At the same time, Aqua's defeat of Vanitas and the shattering of the now declared imperfect X-Blade, fucking hell, triggers a massive pillar of light to consume the graveyard. Terra Xenonos is swept away, Terra's lingering will stays planted there, and Aqua and Ven flee to be found by Mickey. In the aftermath of the battle, Aqua takes Ven's now heartless body back to the Land of Departure, where they were raised by Ericus. To logical track, the Land of Departure has been consumed by the darkness after Master Ericus' death, but Aqua carries Ven into the throne room of the palace and uses Ericus' Keyblade to put the entire castle into a secret lockdown mode. Shh. She places Ven in a room where only those who already know where it is can find it, and leaves sealing the reformed castle, now dubbed Hogwarts, promising to return to wake Ven up. Aqua then travels to Radiant Gardens to find Terra Xenonort, who has lost many of his memories. In attempting to help him, she triggers Henazort's dominant control on the body, and they have one final battle before Xeratenahort tries to unlock his heart once more, wiping his mind and sinking Terra's body into the darkness. Aqua dives in after him, but once it becomes clear that she won't be able to escape together in time before the gateway closes, she grants Terra Xenonos her armor and sends them back to Radiant Guardians. I keep saying Gardens, where Braig has brought his lord and some of the wise to see the Amnesiac boy. Aqua floats off into the darkness, her only comfort being that her friends are safe. Henazort stopped and the universe dealt with. Finally, Ventus's lost little heart finds a new home safely within the heart of the boy who shared his light with him before, Sora. We are finally, after all that, almost at Kingdom Hearts, but first we've got a fragmentary passage part 1. I'm getting a drink. Alright, I got my drink. It's a lot of prequels, isn't it, for one thing? Quite a lot of prequels. Anyway, a fragmentary passage part 1. Lost in the darkness, Aqua wanders on and on, devoid of any sense of time. What, was she trying to read a Kingdom Hearts plot summary? She is not even sure how long she's been there. She comes across worlds she once had visited but have been consumed by darkness, and little by little, she falls into despair as she wonders what horrible things must have happened in the world of light for all this to transpire. Yeah. She is constantly haunted by visions of Terra, and then, until one point where she actually is able to contact Terra's heart. Not Terra, just Terra's heart. She is so overwhelmed by her happiness that Terra is there that she almost reveals... I'm going to read that again. She is so overwhelmed by her happiness that Terra is there that she almost reveals where Ven is hidden in Castle Oblivion before the real Terra appears to stop the one who she is talking to, now revealed to be Terra Xenoblade. The two Terras battle for control before vanishing and leaving Aqua alone again, but now tempered with the knowledge that Xehanort was not defeated and her friends still need her. She continues her long journey in the darkness before meeting up with Mickey Mouse again, who is searching for the Keyblade of Darkness that belongs to that world. Mickey explains that he and his friends are trying to stop the darkness and its minions, which he explains are called Heartless. The Heartless, everyone. That's a thing from Kingdom Hearts. By sealing the door to light, Aqua agrees to help as their journey takes them to the darkness-consumed world of the Destiny Islands. There, Mickey is able to get the Keyblade. He asks Aqua to come along so she can return to the light. Return to the light. Yep, she's got to do that. I've lost my place. Return to the light. Where? Come on. I ain't got this time here. Right, Mickey, Keyblade, return to the light. But she says someone has to defend them while they close the door. As they succeed in closing the door to Kingdom Hearts, which Aqua notes looks nothing like the Kingdom Hearts she had seen before... Why complicate it? It's Kingdom fucking Hearts. Aqua rests on the beach of Destiny Islands. Resolved to keep fighting before the islands are reborn in the realm of light, and Aqua slips back into the darkness once more. Sometime after, she comes across an old man dressed in red robes who explains that he was helping a precocious youth save the world. Aqua inquires whether the youth's name was either Ventus or Terra, in hopes of news that her friends are well, but the elderly gentleman tells her a different name, one that seemingly puts a smile on her weary face, Sora. Kingdom Hearts! We're at Kingdom Hearts, the video game. Do you remember that? It was a very good game. 10 years have passed since the battle at the Keyblade Graveyard with Master Xehanort on the sleepy little world of the Destiny Islands. The trio of friends, Sora, Riku and Kairi, dream of leaving their world and going on adventures. They get their wish in a most unfortunate way as a man in a brown robe tells Sora that their world has been connected and is attacked by black creatures known as Heartless. Kairi mysteriously vanishes when she is thrown by a blast of wind into Sora, and Riku invites Sora to come with him, and they shouldn't fear the darkness because it is their way to other worlds. Sora, on the other hand, resists the siren's call of the darkness and calls upon a fabled weapon to fight back, a Keyblade, which we now know everything about. However, his efforts are for naught as the islands are still consumed and Sora is tossed to a world for those who have lost theirs, Traverse Town. There, Sora encounters Leon, Yuffie, Cid, and Aerith, survivors from another world, and the first mention of Final Fantasy characters in this plot summary. Final Fantasy characters that, over the course of the series, have been sidelined into complete non-existence because they've been replaced by a whole bunch of Final Fantasy wannabe characters with ridiculous hairstyles, more ridiculous than anything actually in Final Fantasy, which must be why Tetsuya Nomura loves them so much. Anyway, they tell him about the Keyblade, how it can open any lock, how it can vanquish the darkness, but at the same time, the Heartless crave it and will continue to hunt Sora and his strong heart so long as he carries it. Sora then also meets Donald and Goofy, servants and pals of the now King Mickey Mouse, who come to find a Keyblade wielder to help save the world. Sora, Donald, and Goofy decide to travel together and try and help the worlds and search for Sora's friends along the way. As they journey to different worlds, they learn of a plot by the villains from many worlds uniting to capture the Princesses of Hearts, 7 maidens without darkness in their hearts, and of the man named Ansem, who once studied the Heartless before being consumed by the darkness himself. Sora reunites with Riku, only to find that his old friend is much more cold-hearted and antagonistic towards Sora, almost heartless, mocking him for abandoning his friends to run around with Donald and Goofy with his shiny new Keyblade. Meanwhile, Riku has been searching for a way to help Kairi, who he has found with the aid of his new ally, Maleficent, the leader of the villains, only Kairi is trapped in a coma without a heart. That'll put you in a coma. If you don't have a heart, if it's been cut out or you've shat it out, end up in a coma till they pop it back in. They put it in your mouth and hold your nose so you swallow it. This confrontation comes to a head at the world of Hollow Bastion. We're almost done with Kingdom Hearts' plot summary, by the way. Less time's dedicated to the main game. Riku confronts Sora and proves that he has the stronger heart and thus takes the Keyblade away from Sora. Donald and Goofy likewise abandon Sora because they are under orders to follow the Keyblade wielder. Sora chooses to persevere regardless of having a weapon and finds his way into the castle where he confronts Riku once more. Riku laughs at Sora's pathetic attempt, editorializing, and attempts to strike down his former friend, but Goofy blocks it, saying that he would prefer not to disobey King Mickey, but refuses to abandon his friends either. Donald then joins them as well, and using the strength of his friends to bolster his heart, Sora wins back the Keyblade. Riku, in a panic, flees and stumbles upon a brown-robed man in the deep pools of Hollow Bastion. Obi-Wan Kenobi explains that in order for Riku to succeed, he must give in completely and open his heart to the darkness, heart darkness, and forges his own Keyblade using the heart darkness of the 6 princesses of heart darkness, gathered thus far. Sora arrives and Riku explains that Kairi's heart darkness, is trapped within Sora, and that he will use his Keyblade to open Sora's heart darkness and take it so that Riku can open the door to darkness, heart darkness, and find Kingdom Hearts heart darkness. Riku reveals that he is no longer Riku, but Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness, heart darkness. Sora manages to defeat Ansem Riku, but then decides to use Riku's Keyblade on himself to free Kairi's heart darkness. Kairi awakens just in time to see Sora vanish and turn into a heart darkness, heartless darkness. Unfortunately, Riku is able to call Sora's heart back from the darkness and return him to normal heart darkness. I'll stop that now. Now all that's left is for Sora, Donald, and Goofy to travel to the end of all worlds and face off against Ansem a final time. They defeat him at the gates of what they believe is Kingdom Hearts, but is actually the door to the realm of darkness. There they find Riku and Mickey, who help close it. I'll just stop with the Mickey thing as well. Close the door and seal it off once and for all. Kairi and Sora share a final goodbye as the worlds consumed by darkness begin to rebuild themselves, and Sora, Donald, and Goofy depart once more to find Riku and King Mickey. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. That's the irony of that song being so beloved. Is nothing about Kingdom Hearts is actually simple and clean. Right, Chain of Memories. Those are some words put together to form a title of a game. Sora, Donald, and Goofy's journey to find the King and Riku take them to a world steeped in darkness known as Castle Oblivion, where they encounter the black-hooded figures known as Organization 13, a very interesting group of villains who aren't fucking boring at all. The organization explains that Castle Oblivion holds the answers that Sora seeks, but in order to find them, he must forget. Sure, unsure of what that means, and I can sympathise with that. And spurred on by his resolve, Sora begins to climb the castle door floor by floor. The castle floor by floor, with each taking the shape and form of a world he previously visited. Saves you on assets. With each floor, however, Sora's memories begin to change. His lucky wayfinder given to him. I don't think that's fair as a crack, is it? Chain of Memories, reusing assets, because that was the... Let me just double check, make sure that's the one. Was that the portable? It was the Game Boy Advance. Is that what they're saying? That's too good for that. That looks too good. Oh, I don't fucking know. It doesn't fucking matter. I can't remember which one Chain of Memories was. I remember it. I played a bit of it. I can't remember which one it was now. Where are we? Each floor, however, Sora's memories begin to change. That will do. His lucky wayfinder given to him by... Oh, yeah, we are here now. Given to him by a girl he had completely forgotten back on the Destiny Islands named Namine. In truth, Namine is a girl described by the organization as a witch that has power over Sora's heart and is being used to rewrite his memories so that he serves their purpose. However, things are not that clear-cut within the organisation, of course. Why would anything be clear-cut? As it is revealed that the small number that occupies Castle Oblivion are actually a splinter group that seeks to take control of Sora and overthrow Organisation 13 proper. One member of the organisation named Axel is one by one either eliminating the traitorous members or is allowing them to be destroyed. Sora, meanwhile, continues his journey through the castle. He is confronted several times by what he thinks is his dear friend Riku, but is in fact a clone duplicate created by members of the Organization. The clone Riku further fuels Sora's determination by mocking his attempts and claiming that he and not Sora will be the one to protect Namine. Or is it Namine? I can't remember these days. Sora's drive becomes so volatilely single-minded that he even lashes out at Donald and Goofy when they begin to question the changing nature of Sora and his memories. Yeah, well, their voices are going to be annoying after a few days. Ultimately, Sora defeats Marluxia, the leader of the Splinter Group, and finds Namine, who... Where do they get these names? Who profusely apologizes for what has happened to Sora. She explains everything and her part in the plan, that she had been dismantling the chains that connect everyone to Sora's heart, causing him and them to forget about Sora, the chain of memories. However, she says she can rewrite Sora's memories to the way they were and reconnect all the chains inside his heart. What was the point of any of it? The trade-off being that it would take nearly a year to do it all, and Sora would have no memory of what happened in Castle Oblivion. What was the point? Torn between losing Namine and remembering the others, Sora eventually agrees and is sealed within a chamber to sleep. Meanwhile, in the basement of Castle Oblivion, Riku awakens from slumber after having drifted here following closing the door to darkness. He begins his own journey down through the lower floors of the castle, where he confronts other members of the organization whose battles with Riku are recorded as data that is utilized to create the Riku clone. Yes. However, his greatest challenge comes in the form of facing off with a spectre of Ansem that still lingers within Riku's heart, and forced to face the darkness within him. Along with Ansem is a red-clad man who calls himself Diz, who demands that Riku pick a side, darkness or light. With Namine's help, Riku realizes that just because he uses the darkness does not mean it has to control him, and that it is much a part of him as the light, and he mustn't fear it. Riku's awakens. That's how it's said. I think the apostrophe there is extraneous. Riku awakens to using the powers of darkness and light to defeat Ansem with his, that middle, not quite a Jedi thing, within himself, and rejoins King Mickey, donning the same black coats as the organization uses to travel through the darkness, just to make things visually confusing as well for us as well. On their journey, they meet with Diz on the road, who claims Riku has chosen the path to dusk, which Riku smiles and responds that it's not dusk, it's the road to dawn. Hope and shit like that. 358 over 2 days. Fuck that title, fuck that name, fuck Square Enix and its naming. I hesitate to use the word conventions. At the same time that Riku and Sora are navigating Castle Oblivion, another story is taking place within Organization 13. We need more stories. This story is about a young man who has the power to wield the Keyblade named Roxas, member number 13 of the organization. Roxas was found by the organization in a world called Twilight Town, that rests on that rests on the border between the light and the darkness, hence the name, where there he was discovered and given his name by the leader of Organization 13 as Xemnas. Xemnas explains to Roxas that he is a nobody, the physical form left behind when a person becomes a Heartless. And that Roxas in particular is special because he is a nobody that can wield a Keyblade, because he is Sora's nobody, created when Sora became a Heartless to save Kairi in Hollow Bastion. Roxas is tasked by the organization to carry out missions to eliminate... That was one paragraph, Jesus. To eliminate Heartless with the Keyblade, which will release the hearts and cause them to form Kingdom Hearts, which the organization will use to create new hearts and become whole people once more. While out on his missions, Roxas befriends a fellow organization member named Axel, who joins him on daily post-mission ice cream sessions. This shit is what happens when you keep wanting to make games in a series but don't want to move the story forward because you're not making main entries. So you just keep tacking shit on before the story and around the story. You end up with post-mission ice cream sessions because somebody's heart was taken out of their body and created a nobody that doesn't have a heart. But they can pick up a key that's also a sword because... Yes. As time passes, a handful of members from the organization are picked to carry out a special mission in Castle Oblivion, the thing that we've forgotten about, with Axel among the others. With so many of the organization going, Roxas is paired up with a mysterious 14th member, Zion. The two work together to carry out missions that reveal that Zion too can wield a Keyblade, and Roxas eventually sees a face which appears as a black-haired incarnation of Kairi. The two begin to share... Some of these games I barely remember or even barely played. I don't know how half of the names are pronounced even. Despite me, deliberately mispronouncing one of their names, the Xena guy. Rutger Hauer. And that's who does the voice. Not shortly after that, around the time Sora's memories are being reconstructed by Namine, Roxas falls into a deep sleep. When Roxas awakens, he discovers that all the members of the organisation that went to Castle Oblivion to save Axel are dead. However, as Sora's memory reconstruction proceeds under the watch of Namine and a red-clad figure named Diz, who have relocated the sleeping Sora to Twilight Town, Roxas' own memories of his past existence begin to stir as well. Zion is beginning to have doubts about herself as well after a confrontation with Riku, where he proclaims her and her keyboard to be a fake. I said keyboard. Riku suggests that if she wants to be real, she should leave the organisation and merge with her true self. This is a universe in which Pinocchio exists because Jiminy Cricket's there, and there's that level in the whale, and Pinocchio exists, therefore the fairy that made him a real boy exists, therefore none of this is needed. Find the fucking Pinocchio fairy, for fuck's sake. Zion turns to the organisation in search of answers and learns that she was created as a clone of Roxas using stolen, leaked memories from Sora so that the organisation had a backup in case Sora proved uncooperative or useless to Xemnas' plans. Zion's appearance resembling Kairi was in fact due to Sora's strong memories of Kairi, but now that Namine has begun to weave the memories back together, Zion begins to take on the form of Sora more and more. However, Zion's appearance also changes from person to person. For example, Xigbar, which was one of the Boobars from that short-lived TV series, the nobody of the former Radiant Gardens guard, Braig, sees Ventus whenever he looks at her. Others just see a hooded figure because they don't view her as a person. Faced with this truth, Zion flees Organisation 13. The story comes to a head when Roxas and Zion confront each other once more. Zion, now taken on Sora's appearance completely, has become fixated on becoming a whole and real person and find the fairy, and seeks to consume Roxas to do so. However, Zion's plan is to get Roxas to put an end to her existence and free her from her torture, but knowing neither he nor Axel would do so willingly, she forces him into a confrontation. Ultimately, she perishes and allows herself to be absorbed into Roxas, and thus halts Sora's memory restoration by trapping her stolen memories within Roxas and Xemnas' plans. With Zion absorbed within him, Roxas gains the ability to wield a second Keyblade, and he sets off on a mission to fulfill Zion's last wish, free the hearts being used to form Kingdom Hearts. On his way, he confronts Riku, who has been sent by Diz to bring Roxas in. Roxas defeats Riku and forces Riku to unleash the full power of his inner darkness on Roxas, transforming his body once more into the form of Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Why wouldn't it? Using his full power, Riku manages to defeat Roxas and bring the nobody to Diz, who digitizes him into a virtual version of Twilight Town so they can force the trapped memories out of Roxas and back into Sora. The story ends with Roxas talking with a trio of kids, Hayna, Pence and Olette, as they make plans for the final days of their summer vacation, Kingdom Hearts 2. The prologue of Kingdom Hearts 2 follows the final week of Roxas' existence in the virtual Traverse Town. You might have noticed at this point, shit goes off the rails. He is confronted by Axel, who is under orders to try and bring him back, or barring that not working, just destroy Roxas to free Sora's remaining memories. Either way, Xemnas wishes to have a tool to finish Kingdom Hearts. Roxas, completely unaware of his true existence and only possessing the fake identity Diz implanted into him, struggles to maintain his grasp on reality as Sora's restoration nears completion. At one point, his heart actually contacts Kairi's, triggering her to remember Sora after forgetting him for a year and convincing her to begin her own search for Sora. Namine attempts to interfere by hopefully convincing Roxas to willingly go with the plan by explaining that nobody shouldn't really exist. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't have been in the plot to begin with. Who needs the extra complication? And that it's just enough, isn't it? Heartless, bad, little monster things, right? Disney villains, some Final Fantasy shit. That's all you need. That's all you need. Disney did not become a fucking household name with 3 prequels per film and confusing plots about fusion dances and data worlds and Matrix shit and my memories make me see you like this, but your memories are in my heart and my heart's come out and it's made 3 of me, and just all of this bollocks. Where are we? It doesn't matter. Sora awakens. Roxas does some things. He's become whole. He's tricked. And he's steeped in his own... Riku's now in his own darkness, and he only remembers himself as Ansem. So they activate the final step. Roxas and all that merge with Sora. Sora awakens along with Donald and Goofy in Twilight Town with no memory of anything beyond the events that occurred at the end of Kingdom Hearts. Fuck me running. Why? With no other leads beyond a mysterious entry in their journal to thank Naveen, they set back on their mission to find Riku and King Mickey. It turns out that King Mickey is right there and offers them aid in dispatching a group of low-ranking nobodies, Dusks, before ushering them into a train with a promise of meeting again soon. Sora and his friends then ride the train to the tower of Master Yen Sid, Mickey's former master when he was training with a Keyblade, where Sora bumps into Pete. Pete is a former resident of Disney Castle. Is that the first fucking time we've actually heard the word Disney in the plot summary? Anyway, he was banished by King Mickey. He joined forces with Maleficent. It appears he is quite behind in the news, since he is unaware of Maleficent's destruction a year ago. Sora, Donald, and Goofy scare off Pete and his heartless minions before meeting with Yen Sid, who explains that Sora is needed to travel across the worlds once more and protect them both from heartless and nobodies. However, no sooner than they leave, it is revealed that Maleficent has resurrected herself and is out for revenge. Over their travels, Sora and his pals learn about Roxas and Organization 13, as well as Maleficent, Pete, and their new Heartless army. The journey comes to a head when Hollow Bastion, now renovated into a thriving township by Leon and his gang, discover the laboratory of Ansem, not the one that they defeated a year prior, but the real Ansem. The real one. It would seem that the Ansem that ruled over Hollow Bastion when it was a thriving city known as Radiant Gardens was Ansem the Wise. The Ansem that Sora fought a year ago was in fact the Heartless of Ansem the Wise's apprentice, Xehanort, or more precisely Xenosaga in Terra's body, who simply stole his mentor's name. It's revealed that just as Ansem was Terra Xehanort's Heartless, he has a nobody too, Xemnas, leader of Organization 13. The real Ansem the Wise has been missing for some time. Xemnas, he doesn't fucking matter, does he? Xemnas, however, has his own plans in Hollow Bastion, where he descends into the depths of the laboratory to a room dubbed a Chamber of Repose, where he speaks to an empty suit of armour as if it were a dear friend, Aqua's armour. Meanwhile, Axel has been trying to bait Sora into becoming a Heartless so that Roxas can be recreated. To drive Sora toward the darkness, he tries to capture Kairi, who escapes with Pluto through the corridors of darkness to Twilight Town, only for Axel to find her there and bring her back to their organization's headquarters. Sora, Donald, and Goofy set out to stop the organization once and for all. No Final Fantasy characters mentioned at all here, they don't matter. Revisiting world by world until one by one they defeat the members of the organization until finally they are ready to take the battle to Organization 13's world, the world that never was. They battle through the city and into the floating fortress of the organization, where Sora is finally reunited with Kairi and Riku. They also learn that Roxas and the Mean were Sora and Kairi's nobodies from the time they lost their hearts in Kingdom Hearts. Kairi helps Riku regain his true form. Sora and his friends battle and defeat the remaining members, including Kairi with her very own Keyblade, of the organization until only Xemnas remains. Diz and King Mickey are trying their luck to destroy Kingdom Hearts by digitizing the hearts that comprise it, and it's revealed that Diz was actually Ansem the Wise all along. Ansem the Wise tells Mickey to rejoin Sora and the others just before his machine explodes and takes a large chunk of the artificial Kingdom Hearts with it. The group finally battles Xemnas and defeats the organization once and for all. Sora, Riku, and Kairi are all returned to the Destiny Islands to celebrate. Shortly after, however, a bottle with a note bearing the mark of King Mickey arrives on the shore of the island. Coded. Coded. Coded! We're on to Coded now. It's a new game. After the defeat of... I'll tell you what, right? I'm going to have to stop this recording because it is now time for me to go do an actual real podcast that I do. So it'll be like a second gap for you, but I'm stopping and coming back. 38 minutes. 39 minutes, my recording tells me so far. Fucking hell. Alright, fuck my life. I've just done a full podcast in between all this. Lots of shouting and yelling. I'm tired and still all wheezy, but let's carry on. 2.25 Coded. Coded! After the defeat of Organization 13, King Mickey, Goofy, Donald, and the chronicler of the journeys, Jiminy Cricket, see, told ya, all return to Disney Castle. There, Jiminy and Mickey begin the process of archiving the records of their adventures when Jiminy finds a passage in his journal that he did not write. Their hurting will be mended when you return it to the end. To investigate, Mickey digitizes the journal and it creates a simulated world containing its own data version of Destiny Islands. And a data version of Sora within. We've learned from Kingdom Hearts 3 that a heart can live anywhere, even in data, so, you know, whatever. King Mickey tasks Data Sora with fixing the anomalies in the virtual world, dubbed Bugs, not Bugs Bunny, that would have been cool, while pursuing a mysterious cloaked figure through the various digital worlds within Jiminy's journal. I know Bugs is a Looney Tunes character, but, you know, they did it in Roger Rabbit. However, in the real world, King Mickey and all his friends in the castle find themselves trapped in a single room with Heartless pounding on the door to get in. Roger Rabbit would be a good Kingdom Hearts level. To their surprise and confusion, they are so like Toontown. That'd be brilliant. They are saved by Data Sora, who barges in the room along with the cloaked figure, who reveals itself to be a personification of Jiminy's journal itself. What? Using the visage of Riku, who reveals that Mickey and pals are not in the real world as they thought, but within the Datascape themselves. The journal then sends Data Sora off on a mission only to encounter the real-world Maleficent and Pete, who apparently survived their battle with the Heartless in the world that never was, and made it into the Datascape to search for something that Maleficent calls the Book of Prophecies. There we are, from the beginning, which is said to foretell the future and have the power to create objects, even entire worlds. She is suspicious that Jiminy's journal may have some manner of connection with the fabled book. Data Sora then finds and teams up with Data Riku to battle Maleficent before saving King Mickey and the gang by sending them back to the real world. Mickey decides to erase the journal, but this only opens a new passage that mentions that the information from the data versions of the world Sora visited in his previous adventures has been added to the journal. In search of answers, Mickey sends Data Sora to adventure forth into a place that Data Sora has no memory of, since it was not from the journal that Data Sora was created from, and thus is quite dangerous. I will say, like, a bit of this goes on the write-up, because you do not need to say Data Sora that much in a sentence. Data Sora realizes that even if he has no memories of someone, he still feels the sadness of knowing that someone was there and decides to press on. There they find Data Roxas and Data Namine, who explain that the bugs in the journal were actually created when Namine to Sora memories. Data Namine explains that Sora, the real Sora, is a key that connects everything and reveals that people like herself, Roxas, Axel, and Zion, as well as Terra, Aqua, and Venus, are all in some way connected to Sora's heart, and as long as they are connected to Sora, they can be brought back. In fact, it is Terra, Aqua, and Ventus that Data Namine created this whole scenario to try and get help for. King Mickey promises that he will let Sora know all of this and bids the data versions a fond farewell, so none of this really matters either. The story ends with Mickey sending a letter in a bottle with his seal to the Destiny Islands before meeting with his old master Yen Sid, who reveals that with Xehanort, I said it right, Heartless and Nobody both destroyed at the hands of Sora, it is only a matter of time before Master Xenoblade Chronicles X reforms. Worse yet, Yen Sid fears that it will not just be a single Xenonus that's coming. Of course, we need like 15 versions of every 3 characters. Yen Sid tasks King Mickey with bringing Sora and Riku to him. It is time that he administers the Mark of Mastery test on the both of them. Dream drop distance. Piss right off. Dream drop distance. It's just words. It's just words. Sora and Riku are brought to Master Yen Sid's tower, where they're given their Mark of Mastery exam, journey to 7 sleeping worlds, worlds consumed by the Heartless, and restored but never woke up into reality and awaken them. To venture to the sleeping worlds, Yen Sid sends them back in time, to just before the Destiny Islands fell into darkness. Yen Sid explains that travelling back in time is possible only due to having a vessel of yourself there to receive the consciousness. As Sora and Riku fall into the dream of the sleeping worlds, Sora catches a glimpse of a familiar brown-robed figure that spoke to him on the Destiny Islands just before he received the Keyblade. Punch him in the face. In the sleeping worlds, Riku and Sora are separated. They exist in the same world at the same time. But you asked for this! People on Reddit, people in comment sections, people on social media, you said, I want the full audio released. I want to hear him read out the whole thing. I didn't understand the plot of Kingdom Hearts, and I need this bloke with an annoying voice to read it for like 40 minutes. In the Sleeping World, you asked for this. They exist in the same world at the same time but cannot see each other. However, their actions can affect the other. Alone, they are forced to team up with benevolent creatures known as Spirit Dream Eaters. We need more. We need more made-up bullshit. Similar to the Kirathi that aided the Foretellers in the Age of Fairy Tales before the Keyblade War. They must battle against Nightmare Dream Eaters that... Take the glasses off first before I bash my head on the desk. Of course, it's not enough to have Spirit Dream Eaters, you've got to have Nightmare Dream Eaters as well. Why does everything need multiple fucking versions? They must battle against the Nightmare Dream Eaters that threaten the peace and stability of the sleeping world so they can awaken them. I remember when this was just running around Agrippa with Aladdin and his mates. I remember when you helped Jack Skellington out. While on their journey, however, Sora and Riku both encounter the Heartless Ansem, Seeker of Darkness, the Nobody Zenmus, and a younger incarnation of Xenoheart. The three never fight, but always make passing references to some enigmatic purpose. That's the entirety of Kingdom Hearts, isn't it? Vague allusions to things that we don't know about. Ultimately, the three draw Sora to the world that never was and reveal the true purpose of Organization 13 in a spin-off game. To prepare 13 vessels for copies of Master Xenonus so they may battle the 7 Guardians of Light and form the true X-Blade, and that Sora is meant to be the last vessel they need. They submerge Sora deep into the darkness to be consumed, but his heart is protected by Ventus's Keyblade armor that forms around Sora. Riku, however, learnt you could fight Sephiroth in the Hercules Colosseum in the first one, and they had like these cool bosses that were like secret. One was in the Colosseum. I think there was one in like the Peter Pan Big Ben clock tower thing. It was just like really cool, like adventures in Disney worlds with monsters, and there was like Final Fantasy characters sometimes. It was really cool. But then even in that, it went off the fucking rails because Square Enix doesn't know how to just do something simply and cleanly. Ultimately, the three draw Sora to the world that never was. I've already read that bit. Riku learns on his journey that this entire thing was set up by Zena's bodiless darkness at the Destiny Islands in the Brown Robe was used the same way Sora and Riku were to propel his consciousness back in time. These are all just... I'm not even trying to understand the sentences anymore. Infiltrate their mission before it began. Riku hasn't been able to see Sora, not because they are in parallel dimensions. No, that'd be fucking stupid. But because he is in Sora's dream of the sleeping worlds like a personal dream eater. Of course it all makes sense now. They're not in a parallel dimension. That would be so fucking absurd, wouldn't it? It makes so much more sense that Riku is Sora's personal eater of dreams. In fact, Riku's coat bears the mark of the Dream Eaters on it. There's a big clue for you, isn't it? Riku took up the job of protecting Sora from Xehanort subconsciously on their first drop into the dream, and thus has been part of it all along and never knew. There's your dream drop distance. In the real world, I don't mean it's over. I mean, I'm still reading it. I'm just alluding to the title. There's more of dream drop distance to get through. Drop dream dunkus. In the real world, a group of former nobodies that once comprised Organization 13 awaken in the laboratory in Radiant Gardens. All of Ansem the Wise's former students and guards, save Braig, Isa, and Xehanort are present. One in particular is eager to find out what happened. Leah, formerly Axel. Why not? He travels to Yensid's tower using his knowledge of the corridors of darkness and reveals that he's a real person now. Must have met the fairy. A result of both his Heartless and Nobody being defeated by Sora and reconnecting into a whole person. Oh no, you're right. The science of that makes it more plausible than a fairy did it. Just like Master Xehanort, that's his name now, Leah reveals that he has returned to being a person isn't all. He's also able to wield a Keyblade, but can't summon it on command yet. Because nitpicky little rules will make this story so much more easy to follow. Yensid decides it would be best if Leah trained under Merlin to gain a better handle on his new abilities. How did Disney sign off on what their characters do in this cringy shite? Riku ventures forth to the world that never was to save Sora and battles with his own nightmare incarnation, the anti-black coat, before confronting young Xehanort, Xigbar, Sakes, and 8 other hidden vessels, along with the newly reformed Master Xehanort, which is different from young Xehanort. However, Riku isn't alone either. Donald, Goofy, King Mickey, do you remember that? Donald and Goofy, and Mickey Mouse, and Leah swoop in to aid Riku in saving Sora and spiriting them all back to Yensid's tower. Do you remember Fantasia? Sora, however, is in deep sleep, trapped in darkness. It's up to Riku to use his newly gained power of awakening to dive into Sora's dreams and bring him back. Do you remember the Lion King? Riku finds Ventus's darkness-infused nightmare armor. Riku finds Ventus's darkness-infused nightmare armor holding Sora and battles it to free his trapped friend. Huh? Do you remember Robin Hood? He was a fox. Robin Hood was a fox. Riku awakens to find Sora already wide awake and eating sweets with Goofy and Donald. With their journey finished, Yensid decides there's still a paragraph of Dream Drop distance. Yensid decides to announce the results of the test. He declares that Riku has shown the mark of mastery, but sadly due to his defeat at the darkness, Sora did not. Sora, undaunted by this, celebrates Riku becoming a master before announcing that he has to go on a quick journey to do something for himself. Yet dig up some dirt on Riku to discredit him out of jealousy. Yensid explains that Riku mastered the awakening power needed to bring back one of the Guardians of Light they'll need to counter Xehanort's new forces. Meanwhile, deep within Castle Oblivion, a sleeping Ventus smiles. The tale ends with Sora travelling to Traverse Town to say a fond farewell to all the Dream Eater buddies he made on the journey, and Riku bringing Kairi to Yensid's tower to begin her training as a Keyblade wielder. A fragmentary passage part 2. This is the last one, and it's short. While Sora is short-ish. While Sora is saying his farewells to the Dream Eaters, and still in a Dream Eater, Yensid explains that in order to combat Xehanort's new Organization 13, I believe this is now the real Organization 13, not the pretend one. This one's real because it's got 13 Xehanorts in it. They will need to gather the 7 lights. 3 of the Guardians of Light would be Ventus, Aqua, and Terra, who fell into disaster over 10 years prior. Mickey recounts the tale of meeting Aqua in the realm of darkness. Riku yells at Mickey and Yensid about how he should have been told, but Yensid states that he ordered Mickey not to share this information because Riku, and more likely Sora, would do something foolish like stage a haphazard rescue attempt and get trapped in the darkness like Aqua. However, now that Riku has earned his mark of mastery, his mom, he is ready to go with Mickey into the darkness and retrieve Master Aqua from a shadowy prison. Oh, that's what they're doing in Kingdom Hearts 3. Yensid also instructs Kairi that she must begin her training with her Keyblade to begin the process of becoming a Keyblade Master as well, and assigns her to work with Leah, who they explain used to be Axel to Kairi's shock, but she relents and chooses to I forgot about that, and I just read it. And chooses to trust him since he did help Sora out. Yensid grants both Riku and Kairi new clothing to help them along their missions. Not soon after Riku, Kairi, and Mickey depart, Sora returns from Traverse Town to receive his own mission, since Sora failed to acquire the power of awakening during his test in the Sleeping World, a power Yensid insists is necessary for the ordeals to come. He tells Sora that he must go and train with another hero who lost his power and regained it, Hercules! Eager to visit his old friends, Sora, Donald, and Goofy jump into their gummy ship and head off to Olympus Coliseum to begin the next leg of their grand adventure, to be concluded in Kingdom Hearts. There's a train coming on by, making its big honky noise. Just honk. There you go. There's an FAQ attached. Why was the Ventus Vanitas X-Blade a false one? What the heck is Kingdom Hearts? What's in the box? Who was the traitor? Doesn't key and back cover contradict each other? Why can't insert any name here use a Keyblade? I'm not reading the answers, they're all a paragraph. What's the deal with the Book of Prophecies? What's the deal with Key? CHI. Is that Ventus Marluxia Luxine in Union Cross? If Pluto and Goofy are both dogs, why can Goofy walk and talk? I actually used to do a stand-up set about that. And it went dark. But anyway, that's me just clicking off everything. Send my podcast off to Justin to edit. And that's it. I almost just had a heart attack because I went to check the recording and it looked like it hadn't recorded. But no, I have recorded everything from the looks of things. Good. That was a plot summary of everything in Kingdom Hearts up to the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3. I've done it. And it's not my fault. Alright, I'm off.